Hey guys, welcome to my first tutorial on how to make this elevated cat bowl. So I made this cat bowl a few months back and it actually got really popular on my TikTok. So I was like, might as well make a tutorial if you guys are interested. So for this cat bowl, we will throw two separate pieces and then trim them, then mend them together. Okay, first we're gonna start off with the smaller ball. Throw it right in the center. I like to shape the ball as much as possible, and we softer clay, so you don't need as much water with this one. I'm gonna seal the side. Bring this down. You just want to make a cylinder at first. To make it more of a cone shape. Set the speed, cone it in a little bit. Now I like to wet this. I'm going to put my finger inside, use my mirror, set the angle. out anyways. Okay, now I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do the base again, but this time we're gonna make the bubbly one because I think there were two that I made. If you're throwing off the same wheel and you just keep throwing, I heard that it's okay to leave clay there and it kind of will just act as more of a glue, so you don't have to clean it off every time. Okay. Let's go ahead and make the next one. It's going to be more of like a bubble shape. Smush it down. Okay, let's tie, seal the bottom. Just with the left hand, pull out and come up like that. That is our second base. Nice rounded one. Center it, make it as round as possible. Now let's go start throwing. Okay, for this one, you want the base to be a little thicker compared to the other ones because you're not trimming it out and you want to round it out. So you have maybe like, let's see, about this much. Yeah, I think that's about good enough. Of the bowl, about the width of this. want the cat bowl to be slightly deep, but not too deep where it's like this. So more like this shape. So I'm gonna push down a little bit and then drag out, so the bottom will be kind of like this instead of like this or like this. It's like this right now. I want to pull out more of the bottom so it's flatter. It's still a little too tall, so I'm pushing down. Too flat because right here might not be supported enough. So what I'm going to do is use my sponge and push it out from the bottom. Here and push it out. From the bottom. I think that looks pretty good. So now that the bottom is flatter, it's a better base to pull it up. This is the top part. We're not trimming a lot on here. I want to make sure that this looks good, nice and rounded, no sharp edges. And then we'll get on the side. Then we can take off structure it when it's drier. Push it on there. Welcome back to the second part of the tutorial where we're going to trim the pieces and then glue them together. So at this point your pieces should be almost leather hard. I think I dried my pieces a little bit too long, so it's not really like, can't really mold it too well. I think the ideal stage of your clay, you should be able to move around a little bit, but then you can also trim it well with ribbons. So I think this is a little bit too dry. So the drying part of this is very tricky, but it's okay. You can spray it, like not too much, just like every, I don't know, like 10 minutes or so, I'd say, until it feels a little bit more hydrated. But I think this piece has dried up at a good spot, so it's just a little bit closer to being leather hard than this piece. You see the color difference, it's a little darker. I think also depending on your clay, whatever clay body that you use, you can I guess experiment with how fast your clay dries. But with this clay body in particular, it's a little bit more wet, so it takes a bit longer to dry. And for example, this is a finished piece which is bone dry. So it still has a long ways to go to dry, but hopefully it's still wet enough where we can glue it together. Another important thing that you need for this piece is slip. So that is just like a watered down piece of clay. We need to use slip to put in between the two pieces to act like a glue. So I have a bucket right here where I clean my pan. It's just a bucket of water, and we're just gonna put some slip in there. But we could probably add some of our trimmings from our piece if it's like too liquidy. I think right now it's a little bit too liquidy to be slip, but we'll see. I'm gonna start off, let's see, we can start off with this piece. So this is the base, and what I did before is I just cleared out the whole bottom so it's hollow. So I've taken a few ceramic classes, and there's different ways people like to center and trim their pieces. I've been practicing a new one where it doesn't require extra clay on the outside of the piece, and you just adhere it with water. Let's try it and see how this goes. I think it's still at a point where it will stick to the back. Let's start trimming. First, I like to look at the piece, kind of see where is the most centered part. Like maybe around here is the most centered part, but it looks pretty centered. Put this here, and then I'm gonna put my handy mirror here so I can get another perspective on it. I personally like to center it as much as possible in the beginning, just by eye, but you never know. Okay, wet that. Wet the top part. Center. Okay, and a trick that I learned is that you put your thumb here, and when it hits, you want to, after the tap, like 1, 2, 3, you want to hit it on the half beat, so it's 1, 2, 3, and. I don't know if we can. You have to work kind of quickly with this. Centering is by having your needle here at one point, and you go close. And whenever you see the line, you just adjust, you shift it slightly. Tiny it's trimmed. So I'm gonna trim this side so it's more flat here and then hollow through. When you're trimming, you want to make sure your hand is firm and you're trying to push in with a stable hand. We've now made a hole. Now we're going to trim outwards to the thickness that we want. I also did it this way, one, because you have to fire it, and if it's a hollow piece it could explode, and it's also easier to clean these things when I don't have a lip or anything, so it's just a hollow cylinder. I made the bottom a bit thicker than I thought, so I'm gonna try and break away some with my finger so that's easier to trim, so I don't have to trim as much, I guess, and then make it the width of the base. Okay, now it's at a space where I kind of like it. The walls are pretty much the same down the side. So now we're gonna twist it a little bit to release the suction. Ooh, look at all those trimmings. And now I'm gonna clean up the edge with a sponge. Just put my sponge like this and then I go around the edge. And then any lumps, I guess, I will go over, smooth them out. This is the time to do so while it's still wet, or else it's pretty difficult to smooth out your piece once it's bone dry. Do a lot of the finishing touches in the stage. Alright, so now we have this base, so now it's completely see-through, which is great. So it's just gonna sit like this with the bowl on top. It's great that the top part is still a little bit wet so that we can etch into it and then adhere the bowl. So now let's trim the bowl. So now we want to basically clear off all this bottom part so that it's smooth and then it fits into the base. So let's center. Clear this out a little bit better. Wet it. I feel like that's pretty stable. And then I'm just adding a little bit more water on the side just in case it's not down. It's pretty on there. Great. So now I'm just going to trim all this off and then hopefully not puncture the bottom. Before trimming, it's a good idea to like feel the estimated width of the bottom part of your bowl, just so you don't cut through and you know which part is the thickest part. So I'm assuming that these two are similar since I threw them the same. So the thickest part is right here on the outside. So we're gonna go down here around this edge and then trim it off slowly. And then I also like to tap and press down to see if I can hear it getting thinner or not. These ribbons are also very good, so it's a good state to trim. Just carving away the excess clay. Now that I have a shape that I like generally, then I'm gonna go in and try to smooth it all out. Okay, there is this little bump here that I'm gonna try and get rid of. Maybe take some more off here. I think we'll be okay. That looks pretty smooth if I do say so myself. I want to make sure it can attach well here. Great, great. I'm pretty sure what I did last time is I cut in a little bit on the inside, so it was like a 45-degree angle, so it could adhere a little bit better. And I might do that with this one as well, because there's a little, you see there's a little gap here in between. Yeah, this is basically how you trim the cat bowl. I think this is, we're in a good spot with the bowl here. Get all this excess clay off. Let's try and wiggle this guy off. There we go. Yeah, I think it feels pretty, it's not too thin. Yeah, it feels fine. Not too thin. We lucked out that, you know, it didn't puncture through because we didn't measure the first time. But now let's clear off the excess. And then smooth out places that we want to be flatter. Or I guess if you like the bumpy look, go for it, you know. I personally cannot with it. So I guess this is the stage where you can really put your final touches. And when they're bone dry, like the other design I did, I drew like a little trim on the outside and then a little design on the inside, and that's when it is bone dry, right before the first fire. Under glaze, I believe it's called. And I personally like to smooth out all the edges, especially if it's something that someone's going to use to eat. So anywhere that touches a sensitive part like the mouth, I will smooth out as much as I want to, so it doesn't hurt the user. Okay, that's great. Now let's move on to how we're gonna adhere the two. these two separate pieces. Great looking pieces, huh? We're gonna move to the workshop table and then we're gonna do a little close-up so you guys can see. Another idea that just came to me is that you could throw it reverse so that when you trim that this could be the top part and this is the bottom. That way you don't have to like flip it over again, and then you can make the 45-degree angle or however it fits better in with your bowl. Smooth out spots. Yeah, so now this is the second one. Nice, round, hollow, beautiful. Honestly, that is good. It's good to go. So quick and fast. Okay, we're just gonna try and trim off this part. This part right here is really thin, so we're just gonna try and avoid that. This is looking pretty good. Let's take it off carefully. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Of course, final touches. Scrape off all the excess clay. And because the kitty's going to be eating out of this side, we want to make it as smooth as possible. Kitty or dog, I guess. Now we have two pieces, hollow and them together like that. These are the two bowls that we are working with, and just like the last time I made these, I switched out whichever one fit the shape the best. Let's see, I think the other way around was better. Here, here, and this time we do not have Zoomy Booms to test it out. Actually, we can get Chloe. They're both at a pretty good height. Try to test the other one. Test the other one. Oh. Honey, there's one inside the bowl. Inside the bowl. Yeah, there you go. Okay, great. So now that we have our stuff tested out by cats, now let's get into the tutorial on how to mend these two together. I like how these two are paired up together, so let's start with this one. So I like how these two sit on each other, but there's a little bit of a gap. So what I'm going to do is carve out a little bit more on the inside so that it sits nicely. Take this, go around, so that you know where to put the marks later. So now we're gonna go in and then carve out the inside part. Trying to have the angle set, and then I'm just trying to make it as even as possible. I think you can do this on the wheel. I don't remember how I did it last time, but I'm just gonna freehand it and then see whatever fits. I'm kind of setting the angle with the tool and with how I'm holding the bottom piece, the base. I'm just kind of hand carving it. I'm doing like kind of smaller strokes. Okay, see how that fits on here. also have it level like this so they can eat straight down, or if you want, level it like this so it's more angled towards them, because I know some bowls are like that. In this case, if you want it more angled, you could probably just cut out a piece here and then glue it together. That just takes a bit more measurements, which I'm not the best at. Let's see what fits. Okay, I think right here fits pretty good. And then I'm gonna mark it. Okay, that's a pretty good ring. And now what we're gonna do is just etch it in and then carve, make small lines so that it can glue to each other. I kind of go one direction and then cross the other direction. So I'm just etching one direction and then going across this way throughout the whole thing. And these are like small strokes, not too deep either, because you don't want to make it like crazy thick, but just enough to make little grooves so that it can create some kind of friction between the two pieces. And the cross that I'm making on the other side is not as closely spaced either. Not sure really why I do that. I think it's not really necessary. And we're doing the same thing for the bottom part. So that line, that more dominant line that you created, that's the line we're gonna base the edges off of. So we're just gonna go in like this. Basically do the whole thing. And I'm just guesstimating the width based off of this part right here. So it's gonna look something like this. Get closer. And so they're both gonna look like this, basically. And then we're gonna put slip on it and then glue it. So the slip that we made earlier. We're just gonna put it on here like this, just like glue. Not too much, so both pieces can stick together, just enough to make it wet enough. I'm just gonna put on a little bit on the outside here. And I kind of just like to wiggle it on there, like back and forth, so it catches. And it should be, you look stuck to it like that. And then I like to go in with the needle tool and just kind of like blend it out like that. And fill in the gaps, really. You can also go in with a brush and kind of fill in the gaps too. I just don't have a brush near me, so we're using the other needle tool. I just want to make sure that the gaps are filled so that it doesn't crack. And then you can like kind of smooth it out. Look at that, beautiful. Okay, and then we can go also make sure to clean up the inside part. I don't know if you can see, but when you're making this, the inside part will also need some slip. Probably just go in with your finger and then smooth it out. This part doesn't have to be that pretty, just as long as it does its job, because it's going to be really difficult for someone to really see the details of this all up in there. Okay. I think that's good enough right now. And then I'm going to go in with some water and a sponge and just smooth everything out. Don't use too much water either, because this is slip, so we want it just wet enough so that we can clean it up, but it will still do its job. And with your finger too, and like rub out some of the details like that so that it becomes like one piece. And you just use little bits of water. You don't want to go too crazy with the water. Even this part right here, I would probably smooth out. Okay. Good amount to smooth and adhere to each other. Go in with a kind of damp sponge, not too wet. Just kind of that needs a little bit more, I would go in with the needle tool, kind of just like fill those gaps. Like that. And kind of, you just fill in the corner, just pushing it around and smoothing it out. Voila! There you have it. I think I'm gonna fix a little bit more on the inside. Make sure your sponge is pretty dry at this point. And I'm just gonna try and get those corners. It's kind of hard with the sponge, but maybe go in with a semi-wet finger and then crease out the edges. Smooth it out. If there are still cracks here, you can go in with a little bit of clay and then kind of mold it to really seal it off. And put it onto the side. Stick it in there. Tool, and I'll just kind of press it in there like that. Oops. Oops. Like that. just do a very thin layer. And you press it out. Beautiful. That's the finished product. Don't really know where I learned it. I just kind of started doing it when I was trying to make this. Just trial and error. And you want to do this step, the trimming step, and adhering in the same day so that the clay doesn't dry out too much. Here we go. Elevated cat bowl. There's like a two little cat bowls. But thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped and inspired you to make a cat bowl for yourself. Bye!